Hi, Larry K, shadowanyone.com. Why can't you find your skip even though you know their social security number? Now, when I talk about finding a skip, we're talking about a missing person, somebody who's you're looking for. And this term is sometimes used kind of loosely in the industry. It's not necessarily somebody who has skipped out or is avoiding detection. Sometimes you're looking, we'll say looking for a skip, or what really we'll say skip tracing somebody who may be a long lost high school sweetheart, something like that. Maybe somebody that has some money coming to them that a law firm has asked you to track down. They're not really skipping out. We'll still call it skip tracing. But a true skip is someone who does not want to be found, and they're probably taking some measures to not be found. And this is typically somebody, maybe you're trying to repossess their car, maybe you're trying to serve them process, maybe they've got warrants out for their arrest. It has nothing whatsoever to do with you. You just need to talk to them for an interview, but they're trying real hard not to be found because they've got warrants out for them. So that's what we mean when we talk about finding a skip. And having a social security number can be a real asset for you, especially in the age nowadays with the databases and how convenient it is to search just by social security number. But frequently those databases are not just going to spit out an address for you, especially someone who's trying to avoid being found. It'll give you a lot of leads, it'll help you out quite a bit, but many times it leads to a dead end. And if you think you're going to find all the skips you're looking for by sitting behind a computer, you're sadly mistaken. Sometimes you have to go out into the real world and actually do an investigation. I'll give you a case example here. I was working a case and I had an address that was of interest to me. And that was pretty much the end of it. But nothing in the databases was coming back for me. All the registered vehicles that were currently registered there or previously registered there were a dead end to me. The people who live there now, the people who lived there previously, a ring out from them, some of the contacts, this was not helping me. So I actually had to go out, and what I did was I pulled the police runs for not only that house, but all the houses adjacent to it and across the street. Now, I've got some runs, of course. There's going to be miscellaneous stuff. Nothing on that house in particular that was helpful, but one of the neighbors' houses had called in, and I pulled the actual run cards for this. So in other words, I didn't just look at the computer-aided dispatching, the CAD, the CAD, what goes out to the officers in the car, but I actually pulled the run cards, what the dispatcher was writing on. And back then they did write on the cards, and they would stick the card in a time clock. It would date time stamp the card, and this is how they kept track and a bit of integrity over the runs that they had. And in the margins of the run card, the dispatcher had written that the neighbor was calling in because the daughter was in the basement smoking marijuana like she always does. Well, that's a pretty helpful tip for me as a private investigator to have. That opens up a lot. It tells me about the house. It tells me about the relationship with this is a 16-year-old girl, the girl and the parents, and it tells me a little bit about those individuals, but it tells me a lot about the neighbor. It tells me a lot about the person who called in. They didn't call in that this person was, and she was actually truant, just out of school, truant, and smoking marijuana in the basement. They included the phrase at the end, like she always does. So when I talk to this neighbor, this is going to give me something to work with. I know the attitude the neighbor has towards at least the girl or the house. It really changes the way I'm going to approach that neighbor for an interview to try to tease out some more leads on the case. And this can only be done by real world investigation, going out, pulling records, connecting the dots yourself, and you're doing interviews frequently. Now, this is the type of thing I teach extensively in the Investigator's Ultimate Guide to Missing Persons and Fugitives over at beapi.com, beapi.com. Check it out. It's the real world way that we do things. When you've searched the databases and you're at a dead end, when social media doesn't help you, when the search engines have given you leads but you've teased them out, it's time to do the real investigative work. Go out, pull records, and connect the dots yourself like an investigator, like the investigator that you are, hopefully. So this is how you find people, and it's a very helpful way to go about it. Even having a social security number is not always the end-all, be-all solution for you. This is Larry K with shadowanyone.com. Remember, do the right thing, even if it's the hard thing.